There are no systems, organs, or vessels, but outer expressions of an integrated whole. Again, this fragmentary perception of the body temple enhances our false notion that we can apply a separate remedy to that isolated part while the whole remains unaffected. That is the height of white Caucasian thinking. As a result, when a healing crisis occurs, we think that we have to go ballistic like the Caucasian does. So what do? We seek potions. We seek remedies. We seek medications. We seek vitamins. We seek herbs. The very word healing implies health. In fact, disease is actually an expression of health. Healing does not begin when you feel the first symptoms of your imbalance. Let me say that again. Healing does not begin when you, on the surface, feel your first sense of the imbalance. Healing does not begin when you take herbs, potions, or tonics. Healing does not begin when you take herbs, potions, or tonics. By the time you feel your first symptom, you are already midway to the final stages of your cleansing and healing. Taking anything other than natural energy from the air, water, and the sun at this time is tantamount to interfering and stopping a healing process that cosmic intelligence had already begun. Disease is not life-threatening. There is no such thing as a life-threatening disease. Cancer is not life-threatening. The only time cancer becomes life-threatening is when the doctor begins to stick and prod at what nature has consolidated and isolated to protect the total body. It is when man interferes that he begins to die. Life needs no help in the operation of life. The medical priest is conditioned and trained to see germs and viruses as the cause of what ails humanity. Germs and viruses are actually the demons of the medical church. But disease is actually intelligence at work. Disease is self-limiting. But enter the New Age. Now you say the New Age, now we're going alternative. We're going to do the alternative thing. I'm not going to follow the regular Orthodox church. I'm going to do something that's alternative. But let's investigate what's alternative about it. Because I am a refugee from that thinking process. The stepchild of the medical church is the alternative health community. It too is commercially driven, all on the fuel of false promises and commodities. Western medicine prompts and promotes the concept of pharmaceutical targets. Well, New Age medicine prompts and promotes vitamin and herbal targets. They both fragment the body into targets for therapy. The New Age also advertises health in the bottle. These are the ballistics of health, they call it. Those various physiological systems identified as the nervous system, the muscular system, the digestive system, the respiratory system, the reproductive system, the lymphatic system, the endocrine system, only exist as a perception in the paperwork of the cave scientists. To further entrench the illusion of systems and organs, the medical church has a branch of priests they call specialists. Special forces. Specialists are the worst kinds of doctors because disease to them and their protocols for treatment are based in the worst form of fragmentation. Their science, again, exists only as a fragmented model on paper. I use the definition, or at least the example, of if a man goes in to see a doctor who's a proctologist and he has a heart ailment, 9 times out of 10 the proctologist is going to tell him that his asshole is the problem rather than his heart. Because the only thing he is versed in is your asshole. And when you deal with fragmentation like that, you can divvy the body up the way they divvy up the cow and show you all the different parts that they're going to feed to you. So you get a respiratory therapist, a eye, ears, nose, and throat therapist, a bone therapist, a skin therapist, a gastroenterologist. But think about this. The mouth, the throat, the stomach, the kidneys, and the large intestines could not perform digestion, assimilation, and elimination without the brain and the nerves. In fact, the only purpose for diagnosis is to find out which drug or drug-based therapy you will be treated with. There is no healing model for the end results of diagnosis. Let me repeat that. There is no healing model for the end result of diagnosis. Only a drug model, a drug protocol, or a surgical protocol. Ask any doctor if he's going to help heal you when you go see him. It is the same with the so-called alternative healing community, unfortunately. What are the herbal sacraments for the medical drug sacraments are the same for their own particular demons. And if you look at all of what it is the alternative health community does, is they label the so-called separate symptoms the way the medical church. This is good for, what's that? Diabetes. This is good for high blood pressure. What the fuck is all that? How are you going to bring the language of the person you say you alternative to into your dictionary, into your semantics? If you are alternative, then there is nothing that you are going to bring from them to you. I don't know if you can see that. Any substance, now listen carefully, any substance that is given to a sick person to reduce their symptoms only prolongs the body's effort to heal itself. Let me repeat that. Any substance that you give to a person, anyone who is sick, anything you give to anyone that's sick to reduce the symptoms, you prolong the healing process of that person. It is cosmic intelligence that is the healer. Only that which created you can heal you. Whatever is needed by intelligence will be provided by the air, the sun, and the water. As a true naturopath, you must assist in the mode of healing or create the environment and the availability for those three aspects to be introduced to you. So if you as a true healer want to be, and there's no true healers in the flesh. The true healer is only the source you came from. So what you are is nothing more than an assistant. An assistant to a process that is inevitable. And what you do is to teach that person to create the environment in thought, word, deed. The environment that is around that person so that those three components may act optimally and to the best benefit of the person that is healing. Assistance versus interference. The body creates what it needs in all phases of its life. It knows what to do in health, and it damn sure knows what to do in sickness. Intelligence does not suspend at the moment you become ill. How the hell is it you think that the doctor all of a sudden knows something about the body because you just got sick? There is no protocol for health. There is no protocol in medical science for the word health. There's not even the word God in any of their medical books. So how in the hell are they going to do any healing? That's right. I got an amen. The ancestors just gave an ashe. Intelligence does not suspend at the point when you feel ill. In fact, it is how kicked into high gear. But your fear motivates you to seek some reprieve. Herbs, my beloved brothers and sisters, herbs are stimulants. They are irritants. They are stimulants. Get used to that word today. Get used to the word irritate. Get used to the word stimulate. Because they do not and are not the same as nutrition. Stimulation is not nutrition. Oh, you're going to find out all about the working model of that vehicle of consciousness that you've been walking around with. Y'all know more about your damn car than you do yourself. But today, by the time you walk out, you're going to be experts or imperts. Because I hope that you're all going to be able to walk the journey with us. You know, even if you're sleeping, I'm going to talk to that other part of you. Herbs are stimulants, irritants that remove symptoms only. Just like pharmaceutical herbs. You see, there's no difference between pharmaceutical drugs and herbs because the word pharmaceutical or pharmacology came from the Greek word pharmakon, which means magical herbs. The drug manufacturers seeks out all types of different herbs so that they can synthesize analog materials from it to create a drug. Know this, as soon as your symptoms leave, know that your body's intelligence has rerouted your vitality from its chosen area of healing, that is the area experiencing the symptoms, to your elimination of the noxious substance that you were just introducing into your body. Whenever you have a symptom and you introduce any component into that temple that is going to ameliorate the symptom, know that that component has to be dangerous to the particular economy of the body, because that particular pain that you were feeling was the evidence of your vital life force being mobilized to your benefit. If your symptoms have been allayed, it means that the body has attenuated its attention to that area and has moved its attention to the most dangerous component, the one that is more life-threatening. See the science. Your body does not operate by thinking that you could get something out of nothing. Anything that you do to irritate the body and stimulate the body taxes your own vital reservoir of accumulated strength. Oh, we're going to get into it today. Every illusion you have about what power, strength, vitality, sickness, and disease is leaving here today. Now, I'm not saying that you should switch over radically to everything that I have come to understand in my own journey. This is something for you to think about. This is what I'm giving to you is something that you will carry with you. And as you are moving along your path, you will adjust accordingly. And you will find yourself jettisoning all the bullshit that has been accumulated based upon the illusion of what you believe to be your body's reality. Time to wake up, brothers and sisters, because the transition to the next time zone, you can't take this shit with you. If you ain't refining yourselves, if you ain't refining who you are so that the phase shift countenance of the light code transmission can lock into your molecular structure, twist that molecular chain into the right wire and the right frequency, you're staying here with this crazy white boy. And these are the keys to over and understanding what it is you need to do psychospiritually and biospiritually. And remember, I ain't mad at you. The specific reactions of herbs, drugs and potions do not act upon the body temple. Hallelujah, the body temple acts on the herb. Can I get an amen? You cannot give some echinacea to a recently dead man and bring him back to life. There is no vitality in that which you have extracted a compound from. It now becomes a twisted molecular substance called a compound, which is a drug, which is an old English word for that which sedates. A herb is a drug. Now, however those of us know how to administer it so that we can ameliorate symptoms for the comfort of the person suffering, know that you do not suffer any greater than your ignorant actions have caused you to suffer. The level of your abuse is tantamount to the level of the pain or the energy ushered by the body to rebalance you. Nature is unforgiving. Bless her, I love her. That bitch is unforgiving, or we wouldn't learn shit. But in her benevolence, in her highest, she is not vengeful. Big difference between not being vengeful and unforgiving. When my mother and my father kicked my ass, wasn't about vengeance, was love. Didn't forgive me after I did it the 10th time. Because they forgave me 9 times. And that's how nature works. She'll forgive and forgive and forgive until you go to that well once too often. And then it's like, no, come on, listen. I am life. And this is how it works. Even though you're ignorant, I'm going to show you how it works. The specific reaction of a herb is merely to the quality of the poison that forces the body to eject it. The reaction of the body is simply to the quality of the poison or the herb or the tonic that was introduced into it. The reaction of the herb is where intelligence chooses a specific organ or system to remove it. Hallelujah. It is intelligence that is at work when you take herbs, not the herb. It is our ignorance that is at work when you introduce the herb, not intelligence. So right now, we're going to just take in ignorance and just throw it in the fire. And we're going to burn it and just fuel it for heat. Because right now, when you walk out of here, everything that you have in your home that has been based in your ignorance, everything in your kitchen, everything in your refrigerator, everything in your cabinet that is based upon your ignorance, I would hope as decoders, as children of the dark matter consciousness, you will throw them out without thinking twice. Because I don't give a damn how much you paid for it. It ain't worth it paying in the amount of money that you're going to have to pay to get well from using it. It ain't going to be worth it in the pain you're going to suffer. So throw it out, start over. And we're going to work this thing. The organ or the system that the body intelligence chooses to eject the poison from is the area that the herb is said to be good for. Let me say that again. The area that your body chooses to eject the herbal poison from is the area that I used to, at the herbologist, say, hey, this herb is good for that. But because of the alignment, because of the specific combination of molecular and electron configurations, albeit mutilated when you cook it and prepare it, that particular potion that you make from that herb, when galvanized from its original source, into a compound, when they're introduced into the body economy of cosmic intelligence, the specific organ that is chosen is based upon the resonance that that particular plant gave of the poison that it used to defend itself. You take it in, and that's where your organ, or the organ that you took it for, that's where your body chooses to get rid of it or to process it so it doesn't kill you. Ooh, did it just hit you? All right, here it goes. When you take that herb, that echinacea, that bloodroot, and all of those things I used to take, when you take those herbs, and in my book called The Everest Unveiled, I break down how herbology started by our ancestors and why it was given to them during a time right after that great nuclear war that destroyed Chem with that overhead blast and the wars that were going on in the interstellar wars that we were having here on this planet. Oh, y'all don't remember that, but we're going to remember that. All the wars that your people and your ancestors had. When the ancestors came here to rebuild, they built little things called Edens, which were dome places, to deal with the high radiation. And the priests of Ast, she came, and knowing what the constitution for every form of life in existence at that time, knew that there were ways to ameliorate pain, the suffering of those people who were the refugees of that war. And in so doing, introduced the science of herbs to Imhotep. Now, when you introduce a noxious substance that is not nutritional, not part of your body economy's recognition system, when you take that into your body, immediately you have sensory apparatus that's in the throat, in the lungs, in the stomach, in the digestive system, and it codifies the quality of the poison and says, you lung, you're going to be the one to process it. No, you liver, you're going to be the one to process it. And because of the specific nature of that particular area, that area gets the most attention. And thus, if you're taking it for your kidneys will say, oh my God, I have to attenuate the energy that is being used to do the healing on one level and process it quickly through the kidneys, thus taking the pain threshold, which was evidence of the work being done, down so that you now feel a little better. But guess what? It comes back, this time with a greater force and with a greater intensity, because now the body has to compensate for what you in your ignorance did to attenuate its work, to interfere. Ow! Let's get an ashe for the divine temple. This is intelligence. Intelligence. I'm going to show you. This is intelligence here. There it is. Let me show you what you're looking at. That you are looking at is the outer component of atomic intelligence, your cell. White man first looked at the cell under the microscope and said, it's just a piece of floating protoplasm. Then when he began, because his eyes became more and more deficient, he began making stronger and stronger microscopes. He began to see, well, God damn. He said, this thing is one of the most complex, simple forms of life in existence. But what creates that intelligence? What is the intelligence that lets a fingernail cell versus a hair cell versus an eye cell versus an ear cell know which one is which? Think about that. Can a doctor grow an arm and a finger No, they can only take certain components that already exist to try to regenerate it, but they don't know what that is. They don't know what goes into. They don't know what the intelligence was that brought about that atomic structure. Now, just looking at the fact that that is intelligence at work, we will move forward. Dead inert matter gives you nothing. You cannot put any herb into a fresh corpse, as I said, and witness any signs of life. There are no true tonics that give anything. They take with the illusion of giving. Let me repeat that. There are no tonics that give you anything. They take from the body economy with the illusion of giving you. The mistaken perception that a body struggling to eject a poison is somehow receiving energy is a perceptual lie. Let me say that again. The mistaken perception that a body struggling to eject a poison is somehow receiving energy is a perceptual lie to your senses. In the condition of disease, nature is unforgiving, as I said. It is the extent of your abuse that dictates the extent of your healing crisis. When you feel the effects of herbs and drugs, it is stimulation that eventually leads to depression. All stimulants are actually depressants. There is no such thing as a drug that sedates or stimulates. All drugs depress you. All drugs are sedatives. All drugs are sedatives. All herbs are sedatives. All reactions to drugs and herbs is the waste of vital energy to eject poisonous material. Now, you're going to see me get redundant at times, but I think I'm going to need to keep repeating myself so that we will correlate the information as we go on here today. Serums, vaccine toxins, potions, and vitamins do not help us to avoid diseases or enhance health. There's a difference between a vitamin and a food. And there is a difference between food and life. Food does not give you life. We eat to live and we eat to die. Eating is a pathological habit of the fall. Oh, brother, now, after I thought I got all my shit together, and I thought I had it down with my echinacea and shit, and all my juices and shit, now you're going to come tell me this shit. But I wouldn't be who I am if I wasn't doing this shit to you. If I don't agitate, if I don't make you go home and think, I ain't did shit up here. Just waste your time and your money. Now, everything we're going to be doing is studying now. This is learning. This is what true school is about. Oh, oh, we done got, let me see, where we at? Why to pull it up? What we got? Oh, there it is. Oh, that's what we're doing? What the fuck is it? Oh, I know what it is. Here it is. This motherfucker don't want to work. Shit. Ah. Damn, look at I point the shit at the thing. It don't work. Ah, there it is. Oh, I know. Oh, I got it. Hey! Check it. We're on. This is school. You all heard me on the radio program when I said any lecturer, anyone who speaks to you for under 5 hours ain't saying shit. Check. Why I say that is because you cannot get into not only the physics, but the metaphysics, which are the peripherals to why the physics exists, unless you had some time, quote unquote. You're going to need the type of time that we're going to be exercising here today to understand and understand where it is we need to be tomorrow. And y'all going to leave out of here being the decoders for the places that you now occupy in your homes, in your workplaces. People just being around you are going to start feeling different. Because when you think differently, you vibrate differently, and you bring different people into your periphery. Then those motherfuckers that can't stand you or can't be around you or got a Bible and gonna try throwing the shit at you, come to Jesus, motherfucker. No. That Bible, he bring that Bible close to you to burn in his hand. Because he ain't using it right any damn way. Fucking around using these very esoteric metaphysical principles to keep people locked down in a bullshit paradigm of belief. Time to wake up. Now, all your doctors and your surgeons can pull teeth, burn out fibroids, cut out gallbladders and uteruses. They can splice up your ovaries. They can extract tonsils and drain your sinuses. But not one of these procedures can bring you health. Not one. You see, in the practice of herbology, as with pharmacology, it is the atomic molecular arrangements of life in the herbs that dictate your response. The atomic configurations of herbs become perverted during preparation. This perverse molecular soup is then introduced into your body's atomic molecular configuration, where it acts immediately to defend itself. And the organ it chooses is the one that best deals with the particular recipe of the soup you introduce. Today, it's sad to say that the New Age holistic health community is holistic in name only and carries the same fragmented concepts of life, health, and disease as their stepmother, the Orthodox Medical Church. The New Age alternative health community has become 21st century's cure cult. Now, pay close attention, my beloved seekers. Junk foods that are sold to you as health food. Junk foods that are sold to you as health food. Now don't bum rush me. Garlic. Garlic was used by our ancestors in chem because that was a sedative, a medicinal at the time because of the high radiation poisoning. In my book, I spoke about the fact that you see these black so-called dreads or locks that you see on our sisters and our brothers at the time of chem. Those were wigs because their hair were falling out due to radiation poisoning. It's in the archives. Those wigs were black and they were made of lamb's wool. Lamb's wool contains lanolin. Lanolin is excellent as a protectorant against radiation. Our ancestors also used toxic poisoning. The book, the Everest Papyrus, is one of the greatest books on homeopathic treatments that ever existed. Let me repeat that. The Everest Papyrus is one of the greatest homeopathic books ever written because they use all of the elements from life. They use the beetles. They use horse shit. They use urine. They use lead. They use everything they could. But every time they introduce something that they know would be pathological to the body or toxic, they would introduce its counter. Not the way that doctors work today. So, when they used the garlic, when people came up on them, when the Greeks came up on them, and all the other people would come to study there, would say, well, damn, these people reek of garlic. The Kemites or the Kemetu ate a lot of garlic because the garlic had a specific toxin that was helping to ameliorate the effects of the high radiation poisoning. And that was it. Vitamins. Junk food sold as health food. Cayenne pepper. Blackstrap molasses. Cod liver oil. Bone meal. Brewer's yeast. Honey. Apple cider vinegar. Brown and turbinado sugar. Whole wheat products, including bran and certain wheat germs. Herbal teas, potions, and tonics. Dissected liver. This is my toxin. Sea salt. Yogurt. Ginseng and all ginseng products. Sauerkraut. Miso. Tofu. And all other soy products. Protein extracts. And all milk products. Oh, shit. I'll be damned. I came all the way from wherever to hear this shit. Now, I know I ain't going back to my family to introduce none of this shit. I'm going to walk around with this in my head to keep the peace. But you know what? When you go home and you start implementing quietly and you begin to change the resonance of your own frequency and vibration, automatically your home begins to vibrate in kind. And people going to want to know what you're doing. Why are you looking so pulled up and tucked and your energy is so high, your eyes are so clear? Well, here's what I did. And only then can you now introduce who you are, because then they're open. Don't ever try to force nobody to hear what you got to say, especially on this. When I first started this 20 years ago, I was only talking to 2 people. And 1.5 of them motherfuckers thought I was crazy. So this is a stage. I've watched my people grow. And you don't know how good it feels to see you all here looking at me, speaking to you on a level where we are equal energies, when nearly 20 years ago people would cross the street when they saw me coming. And they were talking about, that's that crazy Valentine kid. Don't get too close to him. You might catch something. More junk food. Aloe vera extract. Oh, I got to tell you the truth. You've got to know the truth. I had to deal with this. I'm still trying to get rid of some of my drugs at this time. It ain't like I'm sitting up here perfect and I got some shit over you all. That's bull. We on this same path. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to get better too. You know what I'm saying? So I got to, I love my people. I love you all so much. I wish you all so much. Because, reason is, I can't do this by myself. I thought I could, but I can't. See, this all of us put together. Comfrey. Comfrey contains allicin, or aloin, and something called pyrrolizidine. Pyrrolizidine, if you use it too much, it creates liver damage that degenerates into hepatitis. Any chlorophyll that's in a bottle, chlorophyll in a bottle ain't mean shit. Once it's detached and removed, it's junk food. If you get it right at the point where you extract it like wheatgrass and then dilute it and sip it in there, because you can't drink that chlorophyll that quick. Why? Because you don't have the proper magnesium molecule in place to process green. That's the color that you were at one time. It was the time when you had 3 suns. There's only 2 suns now. The other sun is behind this one, and it spins at the same trajectory as the earth, so you can't see it. But now, if you see the harmonic color references to your reality, you look at the skin of the original man and woman, and what color is it? No. What color is it that we recognize? What color is that, brother? Brown. Now, what color is the earth devoid of its green light? Okay, now, you had a magnesium alloy that gave you a yellowish, goldish tint to your blood. Because in the archives of the ancients, you can read that Ramses, when he went into battle one day, one of his soldiers saw him bleeding, and he bled gold. Ramses was one of the ancient ones. Your blood was gold because the base metal in your blood at the time was not iron. Iron is one of the lowest frequency metals on this planet. You, as the God of life, would not choose a lower energy to magnetize yourself to it. It would be part of the components of the higher energy. So your base metal used to be gold. That's why you die. You die, and this is just a part of what I'm going to be speaking about, from a progressive rusting of your body. Because what happens to iron when introduced to water and darkness? Yes. So what are we doing except rusting to death? Crusting to death. Atrophying to death. Because of the base metal that we are operating on today. Back to junk food, sold as health food. Acidophilus. How many of y'all take Acidophilus? Come on, get it up. Yeah. Acidophilus is an intestinal strain that ferments milk. It is incompatible with the intestinal flora of the melanated man and woman. It is quickly ejected from the system. Most of us have an overload of putrefactive flora in our system because we eat so much shit. Your body is different from the Caucasoid or the Chalkozoid. Different because you, beloved brothers and sisters, because of your melanin, because you still hold on to that one ingredient, that thing that they're looking for in the Genome Project. You hold on to that dark matter spiral that allows you to eat color. You get nutrition from color. The black man and black woman's intestinal flora at its highest potencies extracts color from food. That's why people of color should never eat white food. We're going to get deep today. Never should eat white food. When the white man eats, his intestinal flora is not strong enough. The European wasp white, blue eyes, blonde hair. His intestinal flora is not strong enough to break down whole foods. That is why over the time of his degeneration in Europe, before he descended on Africa, his foods became refined in order to deal with the weak intestinal fortitude that he had. His consciousness had to refine its food in order to deal with the least of the evils that he was dealing with. So what you see when you're looking at a Caucasian is the blue eye. Now there is a substance in your body called bilirubin. They're going to now extract that from black folks and use that as a nutrition. Because your bilirubin is higher and more potent than his. His bilirubin needs to constantly be recycling. Now, bilirubin is what turns your shit brown. What happens is that anything you see, when you look at a tree, when the tree dies, it turns what colors? Brown. So when you extract whole colors, you do that. Now, in his foods, they're already dead, so there ain't nothing to do but turn it brown. In yours, you're supposed to be waiting to digest longer because you have more components in live food. You don't need to eat as much. And if you are a vegetarian, you now turn into a grazer, which means you eat all the time, but the right thing. But as a flesh eater, you eat once and then sleep 15 hours. All progressively degenerative to the death. His bilirubin, because it is so bereft of nutrition, in the cosmic intelligence, caused his bilirubin to continue to recycle in his body. That's what turns his eye blue. When you look at our ancestors, when you see our 90 and 100-year-old grandmothers and grandfathers, by the time they've reached that degenerative state, what colors do their eye turn? And what color? And blue. You see black people eyes turn gray and blue. Now, at the point of that beautiful melanated sister and brother's time, when they degenerated to that point, they degenerate to the point where the Caucasoid begins. You understand what I just said? If we degenerate and our eyes turn blue, what does that tell you about who he is? It gives you a perspective of who the parent is in consciousness and who the child is. We are light synthesizers, and as such, we need color as food in order to maintain the resonance that melanin must have to communicate with other star systems. We are light processors by nature. All living things are light processors. But there is no greater light processor in the creation of all things than the melanated man and the melanated woman. We are the inversions of God in the flesh. From the triple blackness, the Most High had to create blackness in order to recognize itself. Because if the light came from the blackness, there's no way for the blackness to overstand the light unless it was black again. Because I understood that black absorbed all light. So when black and the triple black and that which God is creates, it has to create black again in order to speak to itself. So it knows what it's talking about when it finds out things like we do in here today. So we need to consume and process the ingredients of light, which breaks down into color. Because what happens to white light when you put a prism through it? Breaks down into 7 bands of colors. Well, that's what happens. What do you think food is? It's a second-hand version of what solar light gave to you. So it has to have been a container for light radiation, for solar radiation, which means it's a quality of light. And so what it has configured itself molecularly into being is what you now are extracting by way of your specific crystal that you call your digestive juices. Check? We digest light into color. Color is the band and frequency of consciousness for the new time. All language is going to come through vectors of color. Now, refined foods have no light to release, and so to constantly consume them is to rob your own light in the cell. See? Let me say this to you. When you consume denatured food, the denatured food robs the light, which is the activity and the solar intelligence of your cells, in order to process that death out of your system. And in so doing, you do what your Bible has said, you begin to sacrifice the innocent. That is Herod. Herod is your passions and your ignorance, sacrificing and killing off the innocent. Now, do not mistake a drug effect for a health effect whenever you take things that do not have the proper light codes and life source in them. When something stimulates you, do not think it is a health effect. It is a drug effect. Cod liver oil is the waste byproduct of the fishing industry. This substance is toxic to human metabolism, and it must be kept out of the reach of children. Garlic is highly toxic, and it's a root that our Kemetic ancestors used to combat radiation poison in the last days. It contains an indigestible component called allicin. Bee pollen. Everything in pollen is contained in the fruit. Heightened. So you don't need bee pollen. Flower pollen too. Bee propolis. Now the propolis is called a natural antibiotic. It's like honey. Honey is an antibiotic. It kills your symbiotic intestinal flora. When you take honey, they used honey as a medicinal in the ancient days, not to sweeten your damn tea. Honey creates mannite acid. It's all in my book in the back. When I broke down in the Sacred Principles of Health, I only brought 50. Forgive me, because of finance. But if you can, if you want to, copy it and send it off to somebody. But, tell them that we're doing it on a shoestring. But in the book, I speak about the fact that honey creates mannite and carbonic acid. These disrupt the intestinal flora and causes indigestion, creates alcohol in your system. Anything that kills your intestinal flora or your bacteria causes the body to create conditions to bypass that particular situation. So if you put something into your system that kills your natural body's flora, your body will counteract that by creating other things in your system that will counteract what you just did to kill off that flora. So that's why you start bubbling and gurgling and farting all over the place and belching and shit, running people out the room. That used to be Thanksgiving. Shit. I used to run at Thanksgiving after everybody eat. After everybody eat, I ran outside. Now, even the American meat industry is selling you everything but the shadow and the oink. They ain't found a way to get the oink or the shadow yet, but they're going to try a way to sell that shit back to you.